I am so excited. There is one person here that she's probably not near as excited as I am because she has to come up and speak. But guys, give it up for Miss Brooklyn as she comes up tonight to bring the word.
Hey guys. You guys doing good? Good. Okay, I'm good. School going good? Great. No? Yeah, not for me either. It's okay. Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about forgiveness, and what it looks like on a spiritual level. Is that better? Okay. What it kind of looks like on a spiritual level, Have you guys ever had anything happen, a little tough, hard to forgive the person that did it to you? Say a friend hurt your feelings, hard to forgive them, right? Not easy. Okay, so forgiveness is something everyone struggles with at times. Most definitely I do. We've all had friends who hurt our feelings or siblings who are mean to us, and we have to forgive them for their actions, unfortunately. So while it can be very difficult at times to forgive someone who hurt you, we have to remember it's also something that can bring you an incredible sense of peace and healing. So say my sister, she's not very nice to me. So, I have to forgive her. Makes me feel better though. Anyway, so another thing to remember about forgiveness, it's a very strong attribute that we do not forgive. So like said in Matthew 6:14-15, those who do not forgive will not be forgiven. With that being said, forgiveness is an attribute of Christ. And like said, all over the Bible, we're called to live more and more like Christ every day. He's able to forgive us for our constant, everyday sin. So why should we not be able to forgive others for hurting us? The smallest little things. She said something mean to me. You can forgive her for it. So to give a little bit of a personal illustration or example on the topic of forgiveness, I'm just going to share a little bit of my own story. So I was raised without my biological mom being present in my life. She chose a life of drugs rather than being a solid part of her kid's life, and she chose not to better herself for us. She became incapable of raising any kids, so I lived with my Mima and Papa for a little bit when I was younger. Thank goodness for them. They're amazing. And so my dad raised me up from then. He's great. I'm with him now. And so growing up without a parent being present in your life and knowing they didn't try for you, it's a really hard thing. Especially at such a young age, it can really take a toll on somebody. So, and even more so, it can lead to all kinds of built-up resentment, bitterness, questions like, why did this happen to me, and even unforgiveness. So I've spent just about my whole life wondering why this would happen and why she wouldn't better herself for my siblings and I. Why would you not want to do that? So I would question that every single day. And along with that being said, for the longest time, I was like, my situation is horrible. Poor me. I'm so sad. Why'd this happen to me? And obviously, I was hurt inside. That doesn't feel good. And just in the general, our situations and our circumstances hurt, So, and that causes us to magnify our own circumstances in our life. We let it consume our whole lives. And so for the longest time, I would magnify my situation. Why would my mom do this to me? I feel so sorry for myself. And let it completely consume my life. And it was all I could ever think about. My life was consumed with dwelling in resentment. Until I started to magnify the Lord instead and His goodness, instead of magnifying my own situation. I was getting absolutely nowhere in my walk of forgiveness. So in Philippians 4:11-13, I don't say this out of need, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I find myself. I know how to make do with little, and I know how to make do with a lot. In any and all circumstances, I have learned the secret of being content. So here, this is Paul, and he's kind of explaining how he doesn't, like I just said, he doesn't magnify his own situation. Rather, he magnifies the Lord. And so I got to a point where I was done letting my situation completely consume my life and rather magnify the Lord than my own situation. So with that being said, even through times of, bitterness, unforgiveness, and questioning why God would let you do what you did, in Ephesians 4:31-32, it is said to let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you. Again, He forgives us every single day. All of us in here mess up every single day. He's so good. So in times of bitterness and resentment, forgiveness is your key of getting rid of it and bringing peace into your life. So when something happens, you're mad about it. friend said something mean about you. You're mad. You know, you let it sit up, and you're like, why would she do that to me? No one likes to feel that way. I don't like to feel hurt. I don't like to keep it built up. So forgiveness is your way of getting rid of it. So again, forgiveness can be such a huge challenge and very difficult, especially when you don't have an understanding of why this happened to you. When I was young, I had no idea why I didn't live with my mom. I didn't know why that happened. So as I got a little bit older, I wondered, why this would happen again. And I became bitter, and I had no idea how to stop feeling that way. While I was already hurt, the bitterness built up, and it made it so much worse. I was so confused and hurt, I became angry with God and questioned why he would put me through this. And eventually, you become exhausted of feeling that way. Being bitter is a very, very miserable feeling. I knew I had to do something about it. I just wasn't exactly sure. So eventually, I began to pray about this situation, and I asked God what I needed to do, and every time I was simply told to forgive. But how could I forgive her for something that was so detrimental in my life, that caused so much hurt for so long? So I could never forgive her for what happened. I could never forget what happened, and I never thought I'd be able to heal from it. So how could I forgive? How could I not be able to forget and not be able to heal, but forgive? That being said, a very common misconception when it comes to forgiveness is that you have to forget to forgive. And that just isn't true. You don't have to forget a situation to forgive someone for it. Along with that, there are many other common questions that hold us back from forgiveness. Like, how can you forgive someone if they haven't apologized, or if you're not done hurting? Or is it me saying that I'm forgiving, saying what happened doesn't really matter? Or is it me saying that I was never really hurt? When what happened is unmanageable or detrimental to your life, is it even forgivable? And how can I forgive but still hurt? So a lot of times these questions, when we create our mindset of forgiveness when we're very young, and so that's where the questions come from. So the beginning of our journey to forgiveness is to choose to let our mindset of forgiveness grow up. We have to choose to mature. And so along with that, we must change our hearts to forgiveness. That's a decision you have to make. So instead of asking all of these questions and thinking forgiveness is impossible, we have to remember we can do everything through the strength of the Lord, like said in Philippians 4:13. You have to make the decision to let your mindset grow up and change to a heart of forgiveness. And until you understand that, you are getting nowhere in your walk of forgiveness. So along with that, the problems and the bitterness, the resentment, everything built up, I realized to get rid of that, I have to bring it to the feet of Jesus. There's nowhere else I can take it. It's going to stay here until I bring it to him. So in my situation, after praying to God and bringing my frustrations to him, I was given the solution of forgiveness. Like I said, I would pray about it, and every single time I was told to forgive. So after realizing how much peace forgiveness can bring you, will realize our God is not a do-nothing God. So your bitterness and question of why God would put you through your hurt, being angry with God, will eventually turn into gratitude for the peace of forgiveness that God's strength can bring you. So forgiveness, like I said, is both a decision, but it's also a process. So we decide to forgive for the facts of what happened. We know we're called to forgive, so we do it. It's our cooperation with what God is saying we need to do. And this happens in a time of obedience. So the process, which is a completely different thing than the decision of forgiving, is forgiving for the impact that it had on us. The process of forgiveness is where we tend to all of the emotions and emotional debt left behind from whatever might have happened. So, for example, say someone costs you, we'll use money as an example. Someone costs you a $5 hurt. Then your process of forgiveness might be pretty short and simple, quick, easy. But if someone costs you a $5 million emotional debt, the process can take a very long time. And that's when we have to remember you don't have to forget to forgive. But to be able to live debt-free, you have to forgive. So when I was holding on to all of this, the burdens, resentment, anger, bitterness, letting them all build up inside of me, I was being held back from opening so many doors of freedom and peace. So another visual, say, we all just started school. It's usually the younger ones, got the 52 pages of school supplies. Everyone's walking in the door with, got your lunch in one hand, school supplies in the other, you got your bag, got all your things. You're walking in the door, you open the door, or you're trying to open the door, you have too much stuff in your hands, you can't. Sit there and you struggle for a little bit. Try to pull at the door, but you can't. So you've got a little friend with you. They don't have as much in their hand. They're like, hey, let me help you out with that. Most of us are stubborn. No, I got it. I can do it. So obviously you can't get in the door. You realize you can't on your own, and you struggle forever to get in the door until you finally realize you need help. You give some of your stuff to your friend, and finally you're able to get in that door. So Matthew 11:28 says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. In the same way, we ignore God's calling to us to bring our burdens to his feet. Instead, we let them sit inside and build up. We ignore God's requests and continue to struggle to go through the door of peace and emotional growth. Our hands become too full of all of these things that we carry until we finally realize we can't do this on our own. And we begin to pray and ask God for his guidance. So you bring your burdens to him, and he frees you of them, and you're finally able to walk through the door of peace. He takes that weight off your shoulders, and it feels so good, guys. He is so good. So while I've been able to forgive my mom for the burdens she's left on my life, by letting the Lord in and his forgiveness flow through me, my feelings that were once bitterness and resentment, they turned into gratitude for God. I became so thankful for everything he's given me because of my situation. And I no longer look back and feel sorry for myself. Oh, poor me, I'm so hurt. I look back and I'm filled with so much gratitude. I see a loving mom who, while she isn't blood to me, she's a woman who chose me, took me in as her own, and a dad who fought for what I lacked. He made up for everything that I lacked, and grandparents who chose me. And I never would have been able to open the door to realize all of these beautiful blessings in my life if I didn't choose to stop magnifying my own situation and instead magnify the Lord and forgive through him. There is so much you will miss. So, I had all of these amazing people in my life who made up for anything that I lacked and who took care of me and made the best life out of my life that it possibly could have been. So if I were to have never brought my heartache to the feet of God and chose to forgive through him, I would have never been able to feel the peace and the gratitude that I feel today. Letting God come into your hurt feelings to forgive is something so incredibly powerful.
Guys, my bad. I'm a lot louder than Brooklyn. Oops. Guys, that's not easy at all. To be able to stand up here and talk to you guys, not only just talk, just in general, but also to talk about something that happened in your life, something that impacted you so deeply that it almost changed who you were. Guys, it's not easy. It's not easy. I loved what Brooklyn said. She didn't put this on a point, but she said this. It said, forgiveness can bring an incredible sense of peace. That is so true. It is so true. It even to me as I was sitting there listening to her when she said that, I was like, that's so, I know that. Because there was times that I held bitterness, that I held resentment, that I held stuff against people that shouldn't have had it. And I was causing myself hurt. I was causing myself bitterness. I was making it bad on myself because I wasn't able to forgive somebody for what they did. I loved what she said. And guys, I want you to remember that, like Pastor Darren said, it's funny how God works. Darren didn't know what the message was about. I did, so I kind of cheated a little bit. But, guys, it's God that works through us. I want to read you guys a passage real quick out of 2 Corinthians. It's not up here. 2 Corinthians 12, verses 9 through 11 says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Guys, like Brooklyn said, she had to go to the feet of Jesus. She had to take her resentment, her persecutions, the insults that came against her, the things that she went through. She had to take them to the feet of Jesus and say, God, I cannot do this without you. It can be so hard to forgive people for what they did. I can't even imagine Brooklyn's situation. I've never had to go through that. I can't even imagine it. I'm sure all of you guys have gone through something that I wish never happened to you. But guys, because we serve a God that can do anything, because we serve a God that's bigger than anything on this world, you can forgive. You can come back and be better than you were before. I promise you. God, we come to you right now, and I just thank you. First and foremost, for who you are. You are just so good to us, God. And I'm so thankful that Brooklyn opened her heart, shared your word with us, and shared her heart, and was able to just touch so many lives tonight, God. I'm just so thankful that we got to be here in your presence and be with each other. Lord, as you go through the rest of this next week till we meet again for next Wednesday, which is going to be hype. I'm so excited, God, for this new year, this next school year, and for what you're going to do for us. I just thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.